If you're watching this channel, it's because you don't enjoy watching the world squander what Christendom built, but you want to do your part. And chances are you've heard me mention a great means by doing just that. Email made by and for Catholics. Check out fidei.email. That's FIDEI.email. Built for Catholic individuals, families, organizations, and groups. They're private, secure, and of course, they're Catholic. And they're offering 2 months off on your first year for an annual subscription if you enter the coupon code Return to Tradition without spaces. That's the name of this channel, without spaces, at checkout.
Many people have been predicting for some time that as the secular system tightens its grips on the narrative about morality and promotes their own religion over Christianity of any kind, but especially the true faith, the Catholic faith, that dissent would be crushed, and even if it came from priests. We're beginning to see some of that now. We have an interesting story out of France where a priest gave a lesson from the Catechism, the modern, flawed Catechism of the Catholic Church, and he told the truth about the James Martin sin. And he did it in passing, and somebody reported him to the secular authorities. This is coming, folks. The more that the secular authorities implement laws restricting your ability to tell the truth about morality because it might hurt someone's feelings, that they are restricting speech of any kind because certain words they say cause harm, this is going to happen more and more and more. This may not even be the first time we've seen this. But it just happened recently, during Lent. We should all get ready for more of this. This is not an isolated story. So today we turn to Gloria.tv for this report because this one is getting no attention anywhere else but Gloria TV, their en.news service, with this headline. France, priest reported to prosecutor for proclaiming catechism. Again, this is the modern catechism. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, issued in the 1990s under John Paul II, is highly flawed by the admission of the cardinals who put it together. They said it would need to be redone almost immediately, and it hasn't been. It's also clunky and hard to use compared to previous catechisms. It is. It's just large and covers a lot of things that don't need to be in a catechism. But this simple truth that this priest repeats from the catechism, the modern inoffensive catechism, has apparently got him the authorities on his tail for this. So pray for the priest and pray for our priests that they may have the courage to speak the truth, even in increasingly unfriendly times to the faith. Let's go to the article. Quote, Father Matthew Raffray, a popular member of the Institute of the Good Shepherd, published on the 15th of March on social media a very innocent catechetical video on, quote, temptations, in which he mentioned, among other things, the truism that the James Martin activities are sinful. We all have weaknesses, the one who is greedy, the one who is hot-tempered, the one who has James Martin tendencies, all the sins, all the vices that can exist in humanity and against which we can fight. Father Raffray's anodyne words provoked an irrational outburst from Aurore Berge, the French minister against discrimination. Without arguments, she called the moderate statement intolerable and reported the priest to the secular authorities. Prosecution against Raffray has little chance of success, but the situation illustrates the growing hostility of the French regime towards Catholicism. Raffray told Famille Chrétienne.fr that, quote, I have always been very careful not to hurt or offend people, especially in this sensitive area. And all I have done is to express Catholic teaching. He added, quote, it's not me who's being accused, but the Church's teaching. In the past, Father Raffray has spoken out in favor of the solution to the James Martin inclination, which the French authorities got rid of back in 2022. In January, in a play on words, Raffray declared on Twitter that, quote, any spiritual exercise is treatment of that kind. This comment triggered the usual wave of enraged comments from James Martin adherents, and, mostly, quote, you see how the system is up against the Catholic faith here. And weirdly, the system is in defense of the James Martin crowd in everything. Note how I have to talk about this. Note how, in the United States, I have to talk about this like this. Note how the priest rightly says it's not him they're coming for, it's the church. Because the priest is simply saying what the church has always said. Don't be surprised when you see this coming to a priest near you or a diocese near you, especially as we are now in spring heading towards summer. And the big secular month-long version of Lent, if you want to call it that, which is a diabolical inversion of Lent, is coming, where the sin of pride is celebrated on full display. That month is coming, and a number of things always happen during that time. We always see these ramping up of rhetoric against the faith, and we see certain prelates in the church joining in with them. You will see James Martin doing this. You will probably see Francis write another letter congratulating James Martin, like he's done the last 2 summers during that month, that James Martin then publishes on one of his websites and parades for the whole world to see that he has the man the world accepts as Pope on his side on his attempts to normalize sins that cry out to heaven for justice. That is where we are. The world, and it's the worldly agents in the church, some of whom occupying very high, if not the highest positions of authority in the church, are against the faith, or at least the morality of the faith. We see this with fiducia supplicans. We see this with James Martin's activism. We see this everywhere you care to look in the church, except hopefully in your own parish. And if you are in a parish that's trying to normalize this stuff, you should find a new parish. I can't tell you which kind of mass to go to. That's not my job. But I can tell you, if your priest is up there preaching heresy, then you have a duty to find somewhere else to go. I'm curious what you have to say about this. Do you think that this is coming in America? I'm sure this is already happening in Canada. How about in the UK? Do you believe this is coming to a diocese near you? Let me know in the comments, please, because this is not an isolated thing. This is a priest who has a history of saying things, even though they're innocuous. Again, I read you what he said. Nothing he said there would have been considered eyebrow-raising even 5 years ago. But now, of course, it is, because the times have changed, and they are tightening the grips on the culture, and any resistance to it will not be tolerated. We are allowed to have our faith for now, as long as we hide it. What need do we have of a church being underground when the church is practically underground already when it comes to the truth of the morality of the faith, how we're supposed to live as Catholics, and what the church should be doing in opposition to the world, but unfortunately refuses to? We live in a time where the church stands by mostly silently while evil spreads in the culture. And unfortunately, good priests like this we're going to find out about more and more of them as time goes on, especially as the hierarchy of the church push more and more in a worldly direction. I hope this priest got some help from his bishop, but I kind of think he didn't. Let me know what you think about this, though, in the comments. Are you surprised by this story? Do you expect to see more of it? Have you heard of more of this in your country, wherever you're watching this? Let me know in the comments, please. And like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. So does sharing this on social media. That helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.